Well, in a landmark verdict today, the Supreme Court granted legal recognition to transgenders and has directed the centre and all state governments to treat them as socially and educationally backward classes, which means they will get reservations in educational institutions and public appointments. The court said in some very strong words today that discrimination faced by transgenders is unimaginable and that their rights have to be protected, also going on to say that society often ridicules and abuses the transgender community and that there is a mindset which we have to change. Well, Rose Venkateshan, TV host and filmmaker, joins us this evening from Chennai. Also, Pinky Pramanik, a former athlete who is not a transgender but someone who has an intersex variation. Her case is currently in court and Pinky is here really to talk about the discrimination that someone with a different sexual orientation faces in this country. But I want to go to Rose first. Rose, a huge day there for the transgender community. You've had a chance, I'm sure, all day to now talk to other people in the community and activists who've really been fighting this long and hard battle. Do you believe that this is a huge victory or there's still a long way to go?
It is a huge victory considering the circumstances in which India is. For example, Section 377 is now still in debate. It has not been repealed. But in any case, the Supreme Court really surprised me and most of the transgender community as well as the LGBT segment of the population by coming out with such a verdict this morning. So I see this as a great step forward, but there is still a long way to go. This is only I think there's only a floodgate. By having officially recognized the third gender category in all kinds of services provision, okay, the government has enabled trans people to be able to legally challenge any other non-provision in the future with a valid and legally accepted identity. And I'm very, very happy about this.
But Rose, you know, when the court talked about in some, very strong language about the ridicule and abuse that the transgender community faces, listing it out in detail at public places, railway stations, malls, forgetting the fact that the moral failure, as the court called it, lies in the society's unwillingness to contain or embrace different gender identities. Now, that is the crux of the problem, isn't it? Do you believe that the way people look at the transgender community will at least begin to change with this verdict today? Because that's a much tougher battle to win.
Absolutely, yes. See now, you have, I think in Chennai there was an incident many years ago that led to the drafting of a bill that actually became a law, I believe, against eve teasing. So what you can do is, like, now that this gender is officially recognized, it is possible for trans people that have faced oppression, including me. I face ridicule, I too face ridicule. Maybe not in Chennai, but if I travel outside of Chennai into, like, the rural areas of Tamil Nadu or outside of the state to another state, I do face ridicule. Ridicule is something that travels like our own shadows, you know what I mean? So how we deal with it is something that we learn over the years, but sometimes trans people lose it and, hit back and violence ensues. But the society largely looks at transgender people as people that exhibit aggressive behavior without paying any attention to the kind of abuse that mainstream society has been dishing out to transgender people for
very sad
decades, centuries, millennia now.
It's actually sad how we're very quick to generalize with labels, whether it is of the transgender community, where anyone of a different sexual orientation is very quickly generalized and categorized by everybody else. And Pinky, I wanted to ask you that, you've had a very difficult time, Pinky Pramanik, and you are going through a very difficult court case as well. Lekin aap hame bataiye that as somebody with a different orientation, do you believe that today's order is going to change things? क्या आपको लगता है कि आज के कोर्ट के ऑर्डर से कुछ बदलाव आ सकता है?
हाँ जरूर, क्यों नहीं। पहले तो सबसे मैं एक ही बात बोलना चाहूँगी, मैं ट्रांसजेंडर नहीं हूँ, एक लड़की हूँ और लड़की होकर पैदा हुई हूँ। और आज जो ट्रांसजेंडर लोगों के लिए जो जजमेंट दिया है सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने, बहुत ही अच्छी बात है। जो अपने आप को लड़का समझता था या लड़की समझता है, लड़की होकर लड़का समझता है या लड़का होकर लड़की समझता है, वो लोग के लिए सबसे अच्छी बात है आज कि वो लोग के पक्ष में जजमेंट गया है। मेरा भी 2-4 दोस्त है, वो लोग के भी पक्ष में गया। तो मैं तो बहुत ही खुश हूँ इस जजमेंट को लेकर, क्योंकि मुझे लगता है इसके बाद कुछ शायद हम लोग मतलब सोच में कुछ फर्क आएगा।
आपने खुद तो बहुत डिफिकल्टीज देखी हैं, आपने ठीक कहा आप ट्रांसजेंडर नहीं है, हमने ये भी बताया शुरुआत में यही बताया, लेकिन आपने खुद, क्योंकि योर ओरिएंटेशन इज डिफरेंट और आपका केस अभी कोर्ट में भी चल रहा है और आपने बहुत दिक्कतों का सामना किया है।
हाँ, ये सबसे मतलब खुशी का बात है। मुझे दिक्कत हुआ था बट मेरा बात टोटली अलग है। और जो ट्रांस पीपल के लिए जो अब हुआ, सबसे बड़ी बात है इक्वलिटी जो जजमेंट में दिया गया है सुप्रीम कोर्ट में, जो इक्वलिटी सभी को हक, जो जैसा सोचेगा वैसा ही मिलेगा उसको हक के लिए, मतलब हक अपना हक आपने जो सोचता है वही मिलेगा। क्योंकि इक्वलिटी सबसे बड़ा जो आज बात है इक्वलिटी के लिए, हम लोग मतलब एक लड़की भी मतलब अपने आप को लड़का समझ सकता है अगर आप अपने आप को वो सोचती है तो, और लड़की भी और लड़का भी अपने आप को लड़का समझता है। क्योंकि अगर वो सोचता है, जो सुप्रीम कोर्ट का जो फैसला है आज का, वही फैसला सबसे बड़ा बात की इक्वलिटी हम सबको मतलब उन सबको आज दिया गया है।
रोज, लेट मी फाइनली आस्क यू दैट
जितना दिन हो सके हम लोग को उस बात की
जी आप अपनी बात पूरी कीजिए। हाँ,
सॉरी,
आप कुछ कह रहे थे, आई इंटरप्टेड यू, सॉरी।
हाँ, हम लोग बोल रहे थे कि इतना दिन जो हम लोग को मतलब कहीं भी जो सुप्रीम कोर्ट से ऑर्डर मिला है, अभी हम लोग को स्टेट जो सबसे बड़ा कानून है हम लोग का देश का, वो कानून ने जब हम लोग को ये दिया है कि थर्ड जेंडर करके मतलब वो लोग का हक इक्वलिटी, वो अब हम लोग को स्टेट को भी उसको मानना पड़ेगा, स्टेट के लोग को भी मानना पड़ेगा, गवर्नमेंट को भी मानना पड़ेगा कि अब ऐसे जजमेंट दिया है तो उसको हम लोग माने, ना कि उसके साथ कुछ इस तरह से बिहेव करे ताकि उन लोगों को बुरा लगे।
Okay, Rose, my final question to you is what next? I mean, you won this huge battle today with the Supreme Court coming out in support and giving you all legal recognition. But what's the next battle for the transgender community? Because there's a lot in terms of implementation that's not going to be easy to do. Rose.
Actually, सबसे एक ही बात मैं बोलना चाहूँगी क्योंकि
अब
इक्वलिटी के लिए दिया है, अब हम देख सकते।
Sorry, Pinky, my question was for Rose.
मतलब देखेंगे कि दूसरा
Yeah, Rose, go ahead.
Okay, the next battle is actually the huge one, but let me tell you something. The LGBT community in India has come together, mobilized itself strongly into a large force to reckon with. So you cannot expect the LGBT community to stay silent about its denial of rights and suppression of its identity and defaming of its sexuality, So I believe that, yes, the Supreme Court has come up with a verdict, but we as a community are willing to go any length, depth and height to ensure that these provisions and these verdicts are not just on paper but are actually implemented. And we will challenge any government that comes into force if it fails to implement these most important rights that have been denied us for centuries. For decades. The LGBT community has woken up, and India, it's time for you to recognize us in whole. Okay?
Well, it's a great day for the transgender community. I'd like to thank both of you very much for coming in and talking about this important judgment by the Supreme Court today. I just wish that somebody would take a look at Section 377 as well, and we should all be wondering tonight why that still exists in our laws. Thank you very much to both of you for joining us. We'll take a break now. We'll be back with more news on the other side, and the show will be back tomorrow.